For some of you who have just come, sorry for the craziness. Apparently the earlier presenter had a family issue and wasn't able to come. So I did just do a presentation, but I was asked to redo it here for those of you who were unaware of that other one. So thank you for coming. We're going to be talking about sound and an approach that's looking at your whole body, or a holistic type of a program. And we call it the Davis model of sound intervention, where I'm going to use sound vibration. I want you to think of sound waves. That's all it is sound waves, using to enhance a subtle energy system that does exist in your body called the voice-ear-brain connection. I'm actually introducing that subtle energy system in my next book that'll be out in November. So it's something that's quite new. It's in the field of energies of the body, and we're going to use sound-based therapies to accomplish change. So what is a sound-based therapy? We are using those waves of energy, sound waves, with special equipment, specific programs, modified music, and/or specific tones or beats, and most importantly, the need for which is identified with the appropriate testing. Because sound therapy goes beyond hearing, beyond what you may know as auditory processing, and beyond music. It's really going to use your energy to support change in your natural form and function. And what we do is repattern the energy. So for you to understand what sound-based therapies are and how much more defined they are, let's look at these broader terms. Sound healing is a term that is a little more esoteric and out there. It's simply using tones, mantras, various rhythms, sound patterns that exist, and try to repattern and make you feel changed overall with knowing how to incorporate those patterns and tones for body energy. Sound therapy is a little more defined, and it's using the specific notes of the musical scale to make change in your body's energy. So these types of programs would be the tuning forks or the crystal bowls or something along those order. For example, I'm from the New York area, and there is an oncologist in Manhattan that uses Tibetan bowls to make change for his cancer patients. And so the field has been around for a long time, but sound-based therapy is a subset of sound therapy, and it's more defined by using the specific programs that every person's energy is telling them that they need. But I also wanted to include the last two words. Music. For me, what music is simply the artwork of sound. If you see a picture on the wall, you see a conglomeration of color and shape, and it gives you a feeling. Well, music is the same way. It's simply the artwork of sound. And the term music therapy that is more accepted today, started after World War II, really, is simply using that artwork of sound to make change with emotional, behavioral, and physiological body responses. So again, sound-based therapy is more defined. Additionally, I want you to understand these terms. Hearing, simply the physical act of using the ear to receive sound specifics. Listening, however, is much more involved. You actually have to have a mental subset here. You have to tune in to what is being said. Perception is how the brain receives and uses sound. So I encourage you to think about some of the terms that are being used, such as listening therapies, sound therapies. Are those listening therapies really being used where you're mentally tuning in? For me, it's all about the definitions of the word, and I try to keep them together. So I've written articles actually describing the two. Now, some of the sound-based therapies that exist are listed here. I am not about any one particular method. I'm about how your body or your child's body is going to benefit from the use of these therapies. And very often, you need more than one or you're only going to use one and have minimal change and not have full change, which is what I'm looking for. Any sound therapy can make a change. Anyone. Sound is powerful. Think about yourself. Are you ever in a loud situation where you just go home and you're like, oh, I got to calm down here? Sometimes you're in silence and it actually feels good. Others feel uncomfortable in silence. So it depends upon sound itself. For me, it's the correct administration of the sound therapies that are going to make the greatest impact, and the order is identified from testing. How is that order determined? I use a systematic approach that I'm going to share with you and a diagnostic test battery that determines if, when, how long, and in what order the therapies can be used. I've designed it around something that I call the tree of sound enhancement therapy. It is the developmental flow chart for the correct administration of any sound-based therapy. And these are the orders, which I'm going to go through with you in a minute. And so while there are many different ones, the tree really provides the answers. At the root level, it's the only time I talk about your sense of hearing. The global term for anything at this level is called auditory integration training. But the original concept was designed by Dr. Guy Berard. And if you do Berard auditory integration, it's one of the many different types of auditory integration training programs that I use. And from my early research that I'll show you in a minute, I found that you repattern a muscle in the middle ear when you do this. And if you repattern that muscle, the sound is received better at the cochlea, and then the symptoms, the behaviors, the brain change can occur. But you have to have a better reception to have those changes. So while people do research looking at symptoms and behaviors and those other types of things, it's really a matter of coming down to how you've repatterned this muscle for the better reception of sound. The seed of the tree is the foundation for all sound response, and it's going to address what I call your basal body rhythms, your heart rate, your breath stream, and so on. The trunk of the tree I call listening training programs. They are modeled after the work of Dr. Alfred Tomatis. And we're going to introduce sound in many different ways. We're going to introduce it through bone conduction, air conduction. We're going to introduce your voice for this feedback loop that is so key and important. But you'll see that it is within this type of a program that's at the trunk of the tree, which is your foundation, you who you are. We have to send sound through other ways. So we're going to send it through your circulatory system, your nervous system. I'm talking about waveform energy. I'm not talking about the physiology of your body anymore. I'm looking at this totally different. So if we have waveform energy coming to and from your body, we're going to be able to transmit those waves of energy throughout the whole body. The lower leaves and branches I call my auditory processing skill area. Many of you probably have heard that term from doctors, audiologists, psychologists, school personnel. And for me, as an audiologist, I used to do central auditory processing testing, but I now look at this more as giving me the finite pieces that are what we need for communication and academic skills. So this would be the memory, the sequencing, the discrimination. And then we move up to the upper leaves and branches, which is a communication academic area. And what I see happening in the field of education and development is that most people focus on this leaves and branches two-part because that's what we know educationally. You have to change how the person is working to then get the academic skills. But my approach is, again, more whole body. I want to go back to the beginning pieces. Why is the issue there in the first place? So that I'm not going to try to change a symptom. I'm going to go back and find the cause to move forward with it.